G'day guys, and welcome to a double review. So it'll be Rosehill first part, Golden Rose Day, and then just do a few selected races in Melbourne as it was starting to heat up down there, the racing as well. And I'll try and get through them as quick as possible just to, there's so much to go through. So Rosehill, the 2 metre rail, probably hard fence was not the place to be. Not many horses seemed to come there, but it was a pretty standard Rosehill where, you know, you wanted to be inside-ish and get off to 5, 6 off in the straight, and that looked like it was the best place to be. Some, you know, decent races obviously with the Golden Rose and a few strange tactics and things. So we'll get into it. Race 1 was a bit of a disappointing race, 1500 metre handicap benchmark 78 for the fillies and mares. Didn't look like there was a lot of quality in the horses going forward. Sort of Trinity River and Stiletto Vixen, Long Kiss Goodnight had excuses, and Loves of Fantasy all going to be up there. So I personally thought the horse that would run on had a bit of an advantage, but they went so slow that it made it quite difficult, and the winner ended up being the one that got the soft run behind. The others all spent their energy getting to a position, and it sort of picked up the pieces by the look of it. So we'll go through.
By for a break on the first of the day.
Too positive about going forward, but there is a couple of things worth pointing out. So nothing really happens here. They go slow. The first interesting thing I thought is Rose Alicia took off nice and early, second up off a pretty unlucky performance first up, but second up 1500 I didn't think she'd have too big a fitness base, so I thought they might sort of cuddle her up a bit longer and wait, but I think this may have been used as a fitness run, and they may not have been aware that she was such a good winning chance here, but that's racing. She puts in a good effort, she sustains quite a long run and just peaks late. The horse I want to watch here is Taste of Money. Gets back, and while the jockey looks to go back inside, initially waits and then eventually gets out and runs home, basically given no chance at all. Pace was against, everything was against. I think this horse is flying and going back to its grade. It'll probably just about win again. It's the one to follow for mine out of the race. Rose Alicia, the other horse that I could back. I'll go back in a second and have a look at the excuses from the favourite, but here's the winner, You Are Golden. Just basically picks up the pieces, gets just enough off the rail, and hard to knock its effort. It is clearly the strongest horse late, but it has been a little bit flattered, if anything, in a pretty average race. So not looking to be too positive on the winner. The second horse was only second up, 1500's made a long run, so could definitely forgive it. And if we just look at Taste of Money's last 50 again here under little pressure, I thought it should have been in the finish with a more positive ride throughout. We'll look at the start just to show the favourite.
Favourite in the orange jacket. And we're set for a break.
So misses the start badly, and then number 1 Cardinal Sin jammed 2 strides, 3 strides, jammed, grabbed hold. Very strange ride, pretty dangerous there in parts, and that was basically her out of play. So you can forgive her, but again, it was a very average race, and not a race where you want to be finding too many horses to follow out of it. More horses to be a little bit negative on, I would say. Race 2, and another race that looked a little bit funny with, I thought, a couple of improvers in Crosley Hotshot and Erica back to a race that was genuine, but she's obviously going for a spell now and was gassed coming to this race. Erica Crosley Hotshot was a little bit disappointing, but only second up. It's hard to be too negative on her. I thought Soul House improved considerably and only really knocked up the last 150. Second up from a spell. Lanciato was okay, probably a horse looking to come back in trip, I would say, off this run. And the 2 Waller horses, even though they've had every chance, you know, Paul Carrot was early in its preparation and can definitely improve. And Antonio Giuseppe's going through the grades, and it wasn't a too bad an effort considering he was stepping up in trip from his last run for the first time. Again, not a lot to be learned. They go pretty even.
If you want to have a crack at him down the
Lanciato did a little bit of work to get outside the leader, and then they sort of sit up before Doc Holliday takes off again on the turn. The winner looks under all sorts of pressure, and 4 Carat, if anything, looks to have it beaten before its condition probably gives out. 2 leaders which have worked a little bit. Lanciato puts Salthouse away, it was only second up, so it's entitled to be improved. The others are just steady. I would be forgiving a Prosy Hot Shot. I think he can do better. Going forward, not sure what they'll do with Antonio Giuseppe. He's certainly sort of found his level, but he can improve a little bit off this probably, as he's had it. This is his first 1800 metre run. 4 Carat will go up in trip. Lanciato, something similar, even back to a mile, might suit him. He looks like he ran a strong mile. Salthouse can improve, and Crosby Hot Shot can improve in a solid enough race. Race 3, and this looks like it was a bit of a masterstroke from Tim Martin here, putting Claire Nutman on. She's not the most publicly loved jockey, as in, not as in a person, as in, you know, perceived her ability compared to the likes of Bowman, McDonald and that, which you're coming up against in a race like this. And for him to put her on in a race like this when the horse is obviously going so well was masterstroke if it was from a betting proposition. If not, anyway, she's ridden the horse absolutely perfectly. She gets into a position here and gets the horse to settle, takes off at exactly the right time, actually boxes a few horses in and gets to a 3-wide challenging position very cheaply, considering they've gone soft, so she had to make sure she took off a little bit early and put the horse in the race, and she did everything right here. The 2 favourites in Bullrush probably was a bit against being pushed forward early and got over racing. The other favourite, Sir Bacchus, was definitely pace affected and possibly a little bit flat and came up possibly the worst part of the going, so a couple of things there, but he can put in a little bit of a soft run from time to time, but I'm sure he'll bounce back. His pattern really dictates that he's always going to need a little bit of luck and tempo. What I loved here was when Nutman takes off here, she pockets open book, gets up outside the lead just nice and cheaply when they're really slacking the tempo, and she's right there to be strong late if her fitness pace is there, which obviously was, you know, a really strong training performance from Tim Martin. This horse is more known for its 1500 metre sort of form. It's a bit more of a one-pace type, and for him to get it to sprint this well fresh and run through the line like it has is a really good effort. He might have caught a couple of horses on off days, but it's irrelevant. He's got the horse in good condition in a race that didn't look that suitable to run really well. So a little bit, I guess you can forgive Bullrush first up, push forward, over raced a touch, still a little bit plain. Tobacco still a little bit plain, even though it had things against. Cape Crusader okay, Suspense okay, Highly Geared okay, Unequivocal okay first up, and that sort of marks the race out. It's a nothing race for mine. Maybe use it as a fitness base and put a line through most of it form-wise, but Moral Victory, clear-cut dominant winner and a great ride from Claire Nutman. Highway race, and well-backed Quadtronic holds on here, set an even tempo in front, and a few disappointments in the race. In Ocean Grand, I'll just go back and look at the start, because it didn't look like they were that keen to lead on Quadtronic, but it got there so easily that Bowman sort of was happy to be in that position. I think the horse to follow is a horse named Fuel, and it paraded like it would need the run and would benefit from the run, and didn't look right in the coat, so it usually comes right on from a run. I was hoping it would be a little bit more forward, and it's definitely raced a little bit fresh here. It normally gets back, and for it to have enough speed to get up here, and even though it's had to work for quite a distance before it finds a position, its effort's good. It sticks on quite gamely, never finds that spot there where it's sort of 3 wide, no cover throughout. Half got cover, but its effort's probably the run of the race for mine. Quadtronic was solid enough, but did have its chance. Ocean Grand's the big disappointment of the race. Not what sure to what to make of him. The trainers come out and said it's looking for further. I'm not sure that's right, but he obviously knows the horse well, and he's tough to place for mine the way he's going at the moment. That run alone. Atlantic Sentinel, good effort. It's racing well. but I think Fuel's the one coming from this race going forward that can pick up a race at least as strong as this over the next couple of starts. He's got plenty of upside and he's raced well there. Quadtronic will head back north and, he's an honest type as well. He's a horse that's absolutely flying in McCreary's win at the bowling mile was incredible. He got bashed pillar to post and kept finding the line. He's not an overly huge horse or anything like that, so for him to cope with that sort of buffeting and still find the line's a great sign. Herrera rides him really well here. The tempo's fast and he races right up there just behind it, so his effort here going from a mile to 2,000 metres to put them away so quickly. He settles in a perfect position, but still it's hard to find any negatives here. He's really done everything well. Allergic's raced further back off the fast tempo, no excuses. And Sir John Hawkwood's back here with him in a good position. He's run well first up, but very hard to make excuses. McCreary makes his run at the right time. Moreira looks incredible on a horse, Moreira. And those colours that very famous out here now are just pretty dominant. As you can see, he's only quite a small horse and he's got a really solid turn of foot for this distance range. He's an interesting horse he's been so dominant going from a mile to 2,000 metres that Waller's now got his options. He looks a perfect type for an Epsom back to a mile, but I'm not sure if that's their plans or whether they're going to step him up your trip or keep him around something similar. He's definitely a horse that's improved remarkably his last two starts and looks like he can measure up to stronger grade off this run. So John Hawkwood going well, and Allergic was found out a little bit here. It's just an honest horse. One of the weirdest races of the day for mine in the Golden Rose, whereby it didn't look like there was a lot of speed on paper. Probably Thronham, El Divino and a few others, Chamaloo, maybe looking to go forward. All of a sudden, El Divino comes out 30 minutes before the race and says, we're going to take a sit. It looked like it was left Thronham and it eventually was left to Yankee Rose first up from a spell to lease, which was incredible. It shows how slow they've gone. They've gone out a lot slower than the benchmark 78 in the last race of the day, and they've come home like 1.7 seconds quicker or something approximate without the confirmed time. So they've come home about 10 lengths quicker than the last race, and that's just played into the hands of Astern. He's the dominant sprinter of the field. He always did look to be, and I was hoping for more of a solidly run 1,400 metres, which you'd expect to get when you're racing for $1 million, but that's not how it worked out. And the tough, strong horses also ran into trouble. So while I'm not knocking Astern or knocking his performance here, he's put them away in a stride, and that sort of turn of foot's a huge positive for any horse, but he's definitely has been flattered by the way the race was run, the run that he got in the race. The ability for him to use his turn of foot over a distance that may have been testing if it was run at a faster pace, and his main opposition in Ome Sword and Divine Prophet held up and losing momentum at vital stages when he was out and running and had put the race away. So my worry with Astern is if they step him up in trip, what he's going to do, and I'm much rather be with the strong horses in Ome Sword and Divine Prophet, knowing that they're going to keep finding the line, whereas Astern is yet to prove that. And it's not to say that he can't win a race like the Caulfield Guineas, but I would be surprised if they go there. And I think he's more a dominant Coolmore chance, and I would be surprised as a stallion if they didn't go that way rather than the Caulfield Guineas, but that's just my opinion. Have a look at the race.
And we're just about ready now for the Bortley's Wines Golden Rose, our first Group 1 of the spring. And the gates open, they're off and
amazing with El Divino out there. Chamaloo coming off a Sunshine Coast maiden win, and up goes Yankee Rose, a noted backmarker or midfield runner off further, leading with a 10 minutes chest. So shows how slow they've gone. Moreira, who drew the what looked like a good gate in 3 ended up being the real death of the horse. You can give Ome Sword, she's racing in restricted room, over racing, and really not happy where she is for the most of the race, whereas Astern's back here on the back of the pack, and while he might be back further, he's got that turn of foot that made the slow pace an advantage to him over the stronger runners and the wind-up runners in Ome Sword and Divine Prophet. Back here, these horses, I'll show when they sort of bunch, it'll show how it's played into his hands. If you see here, he's now only 2 to 3 off them. Ome Sword's in here held up, Divine Prophet's in here held up, and Astern's able to build and use his turn of foot to put the race away basically in one foul swoop. And you see here, good standing, Divine Prophet still sitting up, Ome Sword still trying to get out, and Astern just goes bang, race over. What you'll see is that he's gone past a bunch too, which is another warning against what he's done. He's obviously got a great turn of foot. Again, I'm not knocking that. He's got great acceleration, but because they've gone so slow, he's able to go past a lot of horses in a little space of time. If they had been more spread out, it would have been tougher for him. And although it looks like a really soft win, and it was a soft win, everything has gone his way, and that's all I'm worried about for the future. If you watch Ome Sword, she's just getting out now. She's still unable to balance up. She gets impeded by impending and has to change course again, and it's only the last 3 or 4 strides for mine that she really starts to pick up, and she starts to stretch her neck there. I think she never got out of 2nd or 3rd gear. And Divine Prophet similar. If we go back and watch here, I'm not sure why Berry chose to head back inside, but again, he wasn't suited by the way the race was run anywhere. He should have finished closer, but that's here nor there really. What I want to also point out is he's hit the line well. I think they're the two. Well, he's the Caulfield Guineas horse for mine. Chamaloo again, probably in the worst ground. He's coming off a Sunshine Coast maiden win last week, and for him to only be beaten so short a distance, 4 or 5 lengths, shows how slow the pace was and how it allowed him to keep up. And that's a big warning again against not Astern as a horse, but Astern going up in trip and being proven at that. So not knocking the horse, but there is still a query for mine over him. At strong 1400 and further so a mile is definitely a query for mine. Anyhow, good race. Ome Sword and Divine Prophet right on track for longer races. Forgive Yankee Rose, pending solid enough, and I believe the Blinkers or the Winkers go on next start, so he can improve. Chamaloo's run really well back in to its sort of normal grade. I hope that race hasn't affected it. Shouldn't have, because it was run at a slow tempo, so it's only had to sort of sit and sprint home. And yeah, good little race. Next race, and McIntosh returns a winner. Great ride from Herrera. They've gone hard here, so his effort's good. Counter-attack's obviously unlucky. Really love the way Southern Legend's gone. Hard run, 1300 was always going to be a nightmare for him. Going from 1000 to 1300, he's never been past 1200 in his life, so his effort was really good. He's had a little bump there in the straight too, and I think this run will bring him right on. Back to 1200 for him would be ideal, but I'm not sure what their plan is. Counter-attack will be on a similar sort of path, I guess. I'm not sure where it's planned to go. I didn't mind the run of Snoopy. I think he's looking for a mile, and I think this is a good little race. McIntosh itself is obviously a very good horse, and he's a live hope in whatever they target, but maybe an Epsom, I assume. And I know Waller did talk about something like that after the race. So for me here, I was a Southern Legend fan, didn't want to really take too much part in the race because of the setup he had, but when McIntosh lobbed outside him, I knew he was in a world of pain. The fast tempo also threw that extra bit of sprint out of him that he's been able to show, even though he had a bit of a lighter weight here. So counter-attacks, obviously the one that's held up. Southern Legend gets that little bump and loses a bit of momentum, but still a really good effort. I love the way he keeps trying. So counter-attack still held up and gets to the outside. He was obviously close to a good thing beat, and he did have quite a chance to get there and was fairly one-paced, and the winner's not exactly weak on the line, so I'm not convinced that he was the greatest thing beaten in the history of the world, but he was very unlucky. Southern Legend, very solid in third. Tycoon Tara solid, and I think that Snoopy finds a race where he can get close to the pace cheaply over a mile. He's ready to win. So all five even over the line can win again. I think Tycoon Tara back to mare's grade. McIntosh can win again. Counterattack's ready to win. Southern Legend back to 1200 is going to be a nightmare to beat. And Snoopy up to a mile straight away, ready to go. Mare's race, and they've gone pretty slow here. And there were some very unlucky runners. Cracking ride from Ty England on the winner to get her away from the inside. You can see how bunched they are and how slow they're going here. Most of these horses up front had their chance. Here's Heavens Above in behind. The horse to take note of that probably would have blown their heads off if it got out was Dixie Blossoms. Never sees daylight, just never got to the right spot. Did look like he was following the right horses, but they didn't take him into the race, and he just never got clear running. 10 Magic comes wide and runs very well. Serene Majesty was first up, did a decent enough job, even though she's obviously had her chance and the pace was probably suitable. This horse in behind here, Magic Alibi, which I thought had trialled really well, just gets held up at the wrong time and lost a bit of momentum and probably needed that perfect run to beat horses at this level and just missed out on it. She's run well. They're the main players, I think, going forward. Nancy having to go back hard against the fence probably played against her a little bit, if anything. But look at Dixie Blossoms, just goes to the line, literally hard held. Heavens Above, which was in a similar position, got the run, and that was the difference. She's a quality horse, Group 1 horse, set weights race, just was very well suited. The inside gate was the query, and England's overcome it with a great ride. Ravi, no admirers lost, even though she had her chance. Dan Magic just keeps running on, and she's a nightmare. Sold for Songs, run a good race, probably needs to go back in, grade a little bit. I think Dixie Blossoms would have won if she got out, I really do. She's just flying. She'll be a nightmare to beat in whatever she goes next start. I think it's a 1500 next time. She'll be right there. Magic Alibi maybe back in class. That was probably her chance to win a race at this level, and she was just a little bit unlucky. And Serene Majesty will definitely improve with the run. So a good mare's race. Looking to be positive on most of them, even though it looks like it was an average race because of the slow tempo, and it really was against a few of the good mares that'll be progressing to good races over the spring. Last race, and Ride won this as well as, they've gone a little bit quick. Invincible had the barrier, got to the best part and won pretty softly in the end. Dingu Mountain gets run through from back in the field, was suited by the speed and not much. She's pretty limited for mine, but ran well. Kanachi had the right run. Fabrizio probably an average ride, but still not a great, not an enormous effort. Maybe a little bit flat off the first up win. Balmain Boy's a good effort, no luck, caught wide, just keeps coming. He's one to follow for sure. I thought Awesome Sam was not terrible, even though it was beaten 6 lengths. It was just a race that didn't pan out for it. So they take a while to sort themselves out here. Fabrizio's working with Lucky Fish, gets over racing. I'd be forgiving of his effort. We watch Balmain Boy get shifted wider and wider and working constantly. Awesome Sam's to his inside. Dingu Mountain's here, pinching runs through the inside and pace assisted, and Invincible's just in the perfect spot at the perfect time, given a really good perfect ride by James McDonald. I just like the way that he just never shirks his task here. Balmain Boy, he just really keeps grinding. He presented like he was being needed the run, and he may have just peaked that last 50 metres, but he really did keep trying. I'm not looking to follow too much more out of the race. Invincible's had a chance here. I think Awesome Sam maybe back in grade is ready to win now. after that, and possibly Tower of Song as well. It didn't have a lot of luck
goes up the head
in the run. That's as good as Dingu Mountain goes. Lucky Fish. Fabrizio's possibly one that can. His effort's pretty solid to keep kicking for fourth, and he can go up a little bit in trip and be dangerous as well. He just seems very heavily weighted in most of his runs. So that's the Rosehill meeting. Quite a few to follow if I just go back through them quickly. Rosehill, I believe, is going to the Dubbo Cup next Sunday. Very hard to beat there. Taste of Money, also hard to beat wherever it goes. Talking back to the provincials or country, not a lot out of this race. I do think that Salthouse and Crosley Hot Shot can improve, and Lanciato would like to set back in distance. Nothing to follow out of this race, but not knocking too much out of it. I think Fuel's definitely a horse to follow out of the highway race. McCreary's flying, not sure what they're going to do with it, but he's a nice little horse. Homo Sword and Divine Prophet right on target for the Caulfield Guineas, 1,000 Guineas, Flight Stakes, wherever they head with Homo Sword. Divine Prophet, the Caulfield Guineas. The Stern, I believe, is just a moral in the Coolmore. If that's the way they go, if it steps up to the mile, I believe he's a bit of a risk there, and I'd be around him unless he has another run in the lead up and puts him away again, and it's a fast tempo and he just keeps improving, which is possible. He's just a cracking horse, but he's yet to answer a few questions for mine, and he did falter in the slipper off a bit of a soft preparation last time, so for them to keep him up again, I know he's a 3-year-old now and he's just a cracking sort, so he's just a little bit of a query horse for mine anyway, still going forward. Southern Legend can be followed with confidence. Snoopy up to a mile, Tycoon Tara back to Phillies grade, McIntosh and Counter Attack both ready to win if they're placed well. Plenty to follow out of this race. Heavens Above Flying, she can win any sort of mare's race. She gets put in up to a mile, she's just going really well, the stable's going well, Tim Martin's flying, great ride Ty England. Magic Alibi back in grade, I believe. Dan Magic's a horse to follow in whatever she is. She's just a nightmare. She gets back and that's her pattern. And I think Dixie Blossoms is just bursting to win a race. I think she would have rounded these up, and I think she'll be desperate to beat him whatever she runs in. Balmain Boy, the horse to follow out of the last for mine. Fabrizio, probably the other one. Would love a jockey change there. And maybe Awesome Sam back in grade. Looks ready to win. Moving on to Flemington, and have a quick look at the Fillies race 2. Really think this Sydney horse, not the winner Kentucky Miss, I think her effort's good, but she did have a chance. I think this Sydney horse in Super 2's just a nice little sprinter, just a fast horse. I know they went slow here, but she could have easily crossed out to better going and didn't. Stayed in the worst part, ends up running into even worse part late and dominates anything over this side. Not beaten far. I'm not sure where they'll go with though. She was obviously well placed here, but unfortunately whether she drew the wrong part or whatever's gone wrong, but she's a bit unlucky here to finish as far back as she did. Kentucky Miss Beyond the Dream, who's having its first start in a race, 800 to 1 or something crazy here, and runs second, and My Country runs third. They've all had their chance in the better part. My Country would probably be better for the run. She's first up. Kentucky Miss was just prime for it, and well placed. Found the right part. Everything went right for her. She's won well. Heavily backed. But I do like the run of Super 2 on the inside here, and the other two runners in My Country and Beyond the Dream have obviously run well again. But the reason I wanted to show this race was simply because of the effort of this filly on the inside. I think she's a really fast little horse that can pick up a race at big odds, possibly too. I'm not sure where their plan is. Race 3, 1400 metres for the 3-year-olds. Detective given a great ride here from Chris Parnham. Gets outside the lead, controls the pace, and basically dominates from there. Off a win that was better than it looked at Wyong. They went pretty slow there, and the second horse is a pretty smart animal. So I was surprised it was pretty generous odds here, but basically for me the difference was here where Chris Parnham's positive, gets outside the leader and Craig Williams is negative on Tessira and grabs hold and fights the horse. I think that's the difference in the outcome. I think if he had have rolled forward and made this horse cross him, come outside him, Tessira would have won the race. So good effort from Parnham to take the initiative to get outside that leader and has run well. Seaburge is a horse that I've been watching with interest. Inspiration travels really strongly on the bit behind them, doesn't have a lot of luck and maybe looks a little bit plain late, but possibly looking for a faster run race and can improve. This horse back here, I think it's called Zumbaka, is a filly racing against the Colts here, and you'll see that it's probably the most pace-affected runner in the race, and its last 50 metres is really impressive for mine. So it's the horse back to filly's grade that could be dominant. I'm not sure where they're going either, but probably 1400 metres a mile back to filly's grade next start. You watch it just get held up. Can't get held up any more than it has been. Finally gets out with a colt laying on top of it and really goes well that last part. I thought she was quite possibly the run of the race with little pressure late. I'd be keen to follow her wherever she goes. Zumbaka. I got the wrong horse. Zumbaka must be on the inside. This horse is further back. Sorry, I've got the wrong horse. Let me just check what it was. So it wasn't. Hang on.
From that outside stall, they've notified from Detective, getting around down the outside from Zumbaka and Revolving Door. There's about 3 or 4 across
this
the
is the
track.
horse that was
Detective
interesting, number 11.
From Tessira and Frossel and Detective. Detective won it from...
She's on 2 positions behind Seabird by the look of it. Yeah, Awaking Grinzig. So there you go, I had the wrong horse when I did the review. But yeah, it's the horse that I thought was the run of the race, and I'm not sure.
From that outside stall, they've
Get this up,
today.
sorry. So Awaken Grinzig's a gelding, so it's going to be going in against similar horses. So not as exciting as a find as I first thought, but Zumbaka's run well again for a filly, so she probably is one to follow back to filly's grade, but this horse of Danny O'Brien's is very unlucky here and can improve. Race 4. And a walking speed set here. Bonorum's dominant. Gets up outside them turning and just puts them away. I thought Tashbia and Allman had their chance, and High World's the one that was heavily pace affected, ridden a bit further back than possibly he used to, and found the line really nicely. Took a while to get balanced up. He's not a sit sprinter, 1400 metre horse, so Bonorum's just a really strong win, really dominant, and High World's clearly the best of the closers and clearly the most pace affected runner in the race. Not a lot to be learnt there simply because of the slow tempo, but Bonorum's obviously flying. He'll be suited in a faster tempo race than that. He's just put him away. There's no way that those horses can beat him again, and High World looks like it's going well. Looking forward for maybe something a little bit further in the near future. Race 5, and this was the race down the straight. I was very interested to see Archives return here. I was a bit miffed about it going down the straight, but again, he's run very well. I know the winner was having its first start in Australia from New Zealand and puts up a good effort. Couple in behind in Hardham and Wasn't Me that run well and looked like they were probably forgivable efforts. And Samara Dancer, again, a filly racing against the Colts, looking for further ground. So Archives is out here. He's really over-raced a little bit, and his effort first up, look at the size of him. He's a big hulky thing. To run this well and battle on this hard is a good effort. And towards the end is Trenchant there in company with Jaws of Steel. Now they're coming towards the 400 metre mark. Saracino towards the outside as the leader from Damn Ready, and Archives under pressure very early, but you can see he's sort of still climbing. He's still green. He's just learning, and he's going to go from strength to strength every start. You could easily have turned it up here, and he just keeps finding he's an exciting horse for mine. Once he gets to 1400 and around a bend, I think he's going to be a nightmare to beat. Wasn't me, nice and strong late, and I thought Harden was just forgivable. And so Hard Answer was on the outside there and ran quite well as well for a filly.
They're all in the stalls.
Race 6, and this horse has run fast time, dominated, gets to the right part of the track, but really done all the work, and he's really put up a good effort. Tavachi, who had that residual fitness from the campaign over the Brisbane winter, has run well, and I thought King Light was forgivable first up, but really all honours to Bartonar, who comes out wide here, gets out really wide and really does all the work, and in this section anyhow, it's always up there in the leading brigade, whereas King Likes back inside that, what looked like a fast lane, still in not a bad position by the look of it, but Bartonar's definitely out here with Tavachi in its slipstream. They've run well. Under the loop, which looked close enough, doesn't really make a strong impact on Fartner, which is another good sign. And another good sign for these horses, but maybe that wasn't the greatest part of the track to be, but still, all honours with Fartner, dominant win over a pretty strong field. Tavachi may have just lobbed in the right spot. I think he may not be a horse to follow. He's definitely run well, and the horse that ran third in.
She goes and they're ready to run. Field is set.
We've got this. Probably found the right part and was suited by the fast tempo, so it's not the one I'd be too keen to follow out of the race. Definitely think King Light can improve first up 1200 metres down the straight. Not an easy thing to do, especially with now that he's homed at Rosehill and he's had a trip away, so he can improve. But Fartner dominant, and definitely the horse to follow out of the race. Group 1 here, over the mile, and Weir 1-2, a little bit different to the way punters probably saw it going, and slowish tempo, or soft tempo. Well, it's a good race. They've sprinted quite sharply off an even tempo, probably the best way to put it. And Palantino was dominant late, but did have the grounding and everything in its favour. Blackheart Bart was a little bit weak late for mine. Maybe the miles just test him a little bit. He or she was good. Jacinto Bay okay. I thought our Ivanhoe was really good, and Pirates of Penzance, Prince of Penzance, and Sophia Rossa were the two best of the runners on. Strange ride for me on Tarzino, and maybe you can forgive him this run, even though he looks a little bit plain to the eye because he's just over races and back on the fence, and just a few weird things happen. Not a lot happens in the run. Blackheart Bart certainly every chance. Palantino grabbed his back, and then you've got the horses like he or she here, our Ivanhoe, that have run well. Prince of Penzance and Sophia Rossa out the back against the softish tempo have run really well the last sort of 200 metres. So the two in front are dominant over the rest of the field. They probably had the best preparations and were the best suited runners. And then go back again and just watch Sophia Rossa, our Ivanhoe, and Prince of Penzance, the three that I thought probably most pace affected and got to the line well in what was an unsuitable race for a few reasons. He or she's ran really solidly. Not sure what the go is with Palantino. I think Blackheart Bart, I'd be very surprised if they step him up in trip, but who's to say anything derogatory towards Darren Weir and the way he places his horses? It just wins everything. So the top two are going well, obviously, and I think quite a few of these runners, he or she, our Ivanhoe, is hard to catch, but going well. Prince of Penzance, again, another one hard to catch, but going well, and Sophia Rossa, once she gets out 2,000 metre plus, she'll be right in her element. I'll have a quick look at the fillies race here, which was run at farcical speed. They've gone out really slow, and they've zipped home, and that played into the hands of Don't Doubt Mama, who's obviously got a real electric turn of foot on her. You can see how bunched and slow they've gone here. I think the horse to keep an eye on back here in Makybe Diva's colours is, well, that's Kavanagh's colours, but is Egypt. I think she was pretty unlucky, and another horse back. I think she's in the white pom-pom here, My Sister Lil. She didn't have a lot of luck and she hit the line solidly late too. She can improve. Pardon me.
Thames Court on the outside. French Emotion poised in the yellow sleeve.
Don't doubt Mama back in here. Just uses her superior turn of foot, even though it looked like it was probably the worst going. She just had to zip home that last part. All these runners have had their chance. And Egypt's the one for me that just never really gets a crack at him. Or a chance to wind up, pardon me. And with minimal pressure, she's holding in there, and this horse here My Sister Lil is a bit of a smoky for a race further down the line. I thought she really found the right line nicely. Not many excuses for the rest apart from that slow pace, and that's why it was a bunch finish. So not as much to follow out of the Melbourne races. I think that Fartno was a really strong win. It's obviously come back a really good horse. Archives for me is definitely the horse to follow from the meeting. Did a few things wrong. Again, I'd love a jockey change. I really don't like the way that some of these horses are handled. They get often horses, they're fighting them. Is not ideal, and probably cost both of them wins in Archives and Tessera earlier in the day. Forgiving it was, a few others there. Bonorum, there was a horse that hit the line well there in High World. Most people would have seen it, I'm sure. This horse, I did like the run of a weight in Grinzig. Thought it probably can find a race, Grinzig. Can find a race going forward, and Barker, even though I had the wrong horse, back to fillies grade. Will be interesting. And then we've got this horse here in Super 2. Not sure whether it'll come back to Sydney or stay down there. But fillies grade again, something fast. Again, I'd love a jockey change, but he's a very loyal man, Mark Connors, and people who do the right thing by him, he seems to stick with them. So no knock on them for sticking with a rider with a little bit less of a foundation behind her than some of the leading jockeys around, but would love to see a good, strong rider on her and see what they could get out of her. And she's a nice little horse. So that's it. Big, long review, and hope there was something there for everyone. Thanks, guys.